I mean, we could change the language to two-way conversations, but
Hmm.
scripts just comes around to saying the same things over and over and over again, so they come across natural. If I really want to change the word scripts to a two-way conversation where you're really intently listening to what your client has to say, might be a better way to phrase it.
Welcome, everyone. How are we doing today? Today we have Steven Gendel from Keller Williams Suburban Realty. How you doing, Steven?
I'm doing great, Craig. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, wonderful. Actually, Steven is right across the hall from me, guys. So I lucked out. Anyways, so today we are talking scripts. So let's delve into it. Number one, what is the point of scripts?
I mean, we could change the language to two-way conversations where you're really intently listening to what the client has to say.
Hmm.
If I really want to change the word scripts to a two-way conversation where you're really intently listening to what your client has to say, might be a better way to phrase it. But
Hmm.
scripts just comes around to saying the same things over and over and over again, so they come across natural,
Hmm.
and that you have command over your scripts that encourages, in a polite way, the client to do the right thing while doing the right thing for the client.
Yeah. Ironically, there is actually an acting method called the Meisner approach, which the Meisner approach, the most famous thing is two actors sit across from each other and they say a single word back and forth. Or they'll say
Makes
one
sense.
and the other person says two. One, two. And you're supposed to listen to the word, how they're saying it, and respond. Not just by rote, but truly listen. And that's the whole approach to the Meisner approach, which is you are so in the moment, you are listening to what they say and you react.
Which is the reality
So
of
that's a
a
fun.
script, is that you're really listening to what the client has to say. Where we're so focused as real estate professionals on what I have to say next in the script that we forget what the client is saying.
Yeah.
What makes a good script great is um, the ability to change the client's thought process so they're following your logical train of thought that brings them to a logical conclusion.
Hmm.
And we're so focused on what we want to say next, we forget what the client is saying.
Yeah. Especially if it goes off into a different area and you're just like,
Mhm.
I'm just going to ignore that because I need to say this next. And that's when
Correct.
conversations get really like stilted. A lot of times when we're talking about scripts, people instantly think we're talking phones, cold calling. But is that true? Is it always just about like calling and cold calling and things like that? Or is that really just about being in life?
It's really about being in life. You can use a great script face to face. You can use a great script in casual conversation. One of my favorite scripts I do every day in casual conversation just to see how people react to it. Um, and it's become the script for me because people attribute that to me. And that's why I find it kind of funny when I go into a store, a restaurant, I walk into my office, people say, "How are you?" And I go, "Unbelievable." Depending how you answer that question evokes a different response. And I'm curious to see how people react to that when I say that.
Mm-hmm. Well, because normally when someone says unbelievable, something shocking or something has happened. Maybe
Correct.
something negative.
Or positive.
Yeah.
Could be either one. What it forces the brain to do is say, did he really say that? Did I really just hear that? And now we can have a real conversation. And I
Mm-hmm.
think people are so used to scripts being automatic. The most, for example, Craig, walk in any store. The first thing they say is, "How are you?" And your answer is good, fine, or I'm just looking.
Mm-hmm.
Pick,
It's one
right?
of those three.
Good, fine, or I'm just looking. That's not a real conversation because they know that that's what the script is and they know that that's what's going to happen. And I think where the consumer really can control the conversation or the realtor can control the conversation is really ask great scripts, but also really have say things that are a little different that forces the brain into a different conversation.
Cool. So, for instance, for buyers, what's the type of script that you would use? And we can do like a little role play if you want. My
Sure.
personal favorite, I love doing cold calls. I just love calling around, but my thing is every time I do these cold calls, I make sure I'm offering some value before I ask them, do you want to buy or sell or anything? No, I'm normally calling around for for an open house or things like that. I'm trying to provide them some value and then ask through a certain way, are they looking? So,
Sure.
what's one of your go-to buyer for number one? If you're just like in person, you walk along the street, or if you're calling.
For to what's the goal? Is the goal
Okay.
to because you said number one buyer script, but it sounds to me like you're working with trying to get listings and seller scripts. So
Well, now
what's
I
your goal?
am. So now my goal has been because my first year I was all about the buyer scripts, and
So give me an
suddenly I
example
had
of a script you use to try to get sellers.
okay. So here's one I use when I call around for cold calls. I just sold a house. Now I'm calling around. Ring, 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 ring.
Hello?
Hey, is this Steven?
Yes.
Hey, this is Craig calling from Keller Williams. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Oh, wonderful. So I actually just sold a house over at 123 Banana Street, and a few of the other clients lost out. I was wondering if you knew anyone looking to move into the community. Sorry, I reversed that. If you know anyone looking to sell in the next 6 months.
No, not right now.
Totally understandable. If you do think of someone, send them my way. By the way, right, just before I let you go, what are your real estate plans for the upcoming year?
Don't have any.
Makes total sense. And then I normally move on to normally a last sentence, which is, by the way, just to let you know, we a lot of times send friends and family information about upcoming home price changes, et cetera, et cetera. Want to be included on that list?
All right, so
And
now
that
I'll
actually,
take that same. I'm going to take that same script and plus it. Hey, Chris. Chris, keep calling you Chris today. Ring, ring. Hello.
hello?
Hey, Craig. Steven Gendel from Keller Williams. How are you?
Doing pretty well. What's up?
Great. Just wanted to inform you, we sold 123 Main Street around the corner last week. We had 7 offers on the property, and even if we only had 3 offers on the property, there's still people who didn't get a chance to buy into your neighborhood. I'm just curious if you know of anyone who's looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate in the coming year.
Uh, Not at the moment. I was kind of thinking, but like it's gonna be down the road. It's gonna be like 3 or 4 years.
Okay, fine, no problem. Um, if any of your neighbors consider putting their homes on the market, I've got all these extra buyers who need to buy in your neighborhood. I'd love to get their names. Do you mind taking down my contact information real quick?
Oh, yeah. Can you just text it to me? I don't have pen or
Sure, I'll
pencil.
text it to you right if we get the phone. Now, last but not least, one more question. Do you have a real estate investment plan for 2023?
No. Why would I need one?
Well, I think most people don't realize in any portfolio of what they have, but try investing in stocks or bonds or any other kind of investment vehicle out there, real estate's one of the safest investments over time. And I think everyone should have a real estate investment plan, if not for next year, for the year after. I'd love to sit down with you for 30 minutes and go over that. When can we get together?
Uh, I well, I'm not sure. The holidays are coming up, so it
That's
wouldn't
fine.
be in.
We can do this on Zoom if you want. I can schedule it for
Oh,
Friday 3 o'clock if that works for you, or Monday 2 o'clock.
Monday is preferable.
Great. So confirm your email address. I'll be here on Zoom at 2 o'clock on Monday. I'll send you an invite link. And then I'll also put you on our list to keep you updated of where prices are going. Because I think as part of your investment strategy, you should know what you might want to invest in, but also what your home is worth.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
All right. Well, thank you. All right.
Great. Thanks, Craig.
Well, have a good day.
See you on Monday too.
All right. So what I liked about that was you can create it wasn't just selling. It was buy, sell, or invest.
Right.
So it didn't pigeonhole them.
Correct.
It left it open. And here the interesting thing is what I like about scripts is that they always hand out these scripts and they're really basic and they're really terrible. But my thing is just start. Because as you start going, when you start having these conversations, you're going to be like, oh, that was god awful. I can't use that. Or that was kind of working, but that second half I need to alter. And so
Right.
then you try to find something that works for that second half.
That's right. And you just have to keep asking questions. Like I just kept asking you questions
Hmm.
based on the conversation to bring you down a logical conclusion, a logical path.
Yeah. I think it was who is the Socratic method, which is all about teaching by asking questions.
Hmm.
You learn by asking questions. There's a team up in Montclair. I think it's run by Amy Owens,
Hmm.
and her whole thing is just be quiet and let them talk. Ask questions and then be quiet.
Hmm. That's
Because
right.
if you don't be quiet, you're never going to hear the response and you can never go for it.
Yep.
So here's a great example. What happens when you run into someone in person and you're just chit chatting about life, and then they say like, "How's the market going?" Oh, I don't know. You're in real estate.
Okay. I mean, do you have a real estate need right now? Like, do you have an investment strategy for next year? Are you looking to buy, sell, invest? What are your plans?
Uh, well, I wasn't really looking right now. I was just kind of curious because the news makes it seem terrible, and I was wondering if that's true.
Well, tell me why you believe the news makes it out to be terrible.
Well, the news likes making things to be like really terrible to get you to watch it.
Sure.
But like I bought my house at like a really low interest rate, and at some point I'm gonna need to get a new place. Like one
Right.
day, having
Right.
kids, I need to get
When
a house at some point.
Craig, whenever you hear the media or people talking about the real estate industry, you just said it yourself that they always focus on the negative. The problem is every real estate transaction I've ever been involved in involves two parties, a buyer and a seller.
Hmm.
So if it's bad, is it bad for everyone or bad for one party?
Oh, I don't really know. I would say bad for one party.
Right, correct. So what ends up happening is most people think, "Oh my goodness, it's the COVID market and the market is so tough and so crazy." So that means it's really good for sellers, correct?
Hmm.
And not really good for buyers because there's 20 offers on every home.
Yeah.
And now the media says the market's bad, but the reality is it's really bad for sellers because the market is shifting with high interest rates
Hmm.
and buyers should be able to not have 20 offers on every home. They might have three, they might have four, they might have five, but it's not 20 and it's not as crazy as it was 6 months or a year ago.
Hmm.
So we're balancing ourselves out from a hyper seller's market to a balanced market. So is the market really bad?
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite things to talk to people about, I had this conversation literally yesterday where someone's like, it's a terrible time to buy. And I was like, look, last year, one of my clients went 100 grand over when it was 3%, and they lost.
Correct.
So
Right.
I
So who's it
said,
bad for?
choose your hard.
Correct.
So at the end of the day, scripts are about figuring out things that work, making it in your own voice. Because there's one thing that I did when I was in college was I was actually the manager of the phonathon. And I always gave people, I created scripts and then I said, take a pen and change out certain words that you would never say, but you would use a different word.
Right.
Because as soon as you do that, it's going to fit in the natural, like your voice. And number
Right.
one, it's going to be way easier to memorize. And number two, it's going to feel natural. And number three, you can actually say it with confidence.
That's correct.
Even if you're not confident, at least it's in your own voice. Today, we really went over the fact that here's how to approach conversations, things
Mhm.
that please stop saying.
Yep.
Just stop saying them. And then really speak in your own voice. Anything else you want to say before we're done?
No, just pick the two or three for the sellers and the two or three for the buyers, that two or three for investors that work with you and own them. Make them yours.
All right. Well, I think that's pretty
Okay?
much all for today.
Awesome.
All
Thanks,
right.
Craig.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Steven.
it.
Have a great day.
Anytime. You
Bye.
too. Bye.